am I looking at right now? Is going on, everybody? How are y'all doing? Before we get started with this video, give it a thumbs up. Let's get it over 300 likes. Boy, fire! Get some likes, all that stuff. All right, let's get right to the news. Do you think this is a Nintendo Switch? A Wii U? R.I.P. Wii U. No! This is Mario Maker 2 running on a PlayStation 4. Now, of course, you see the corner right there. Shout out to Game Explain. They discovered this. Now, LittleBigPlanet 3 is a game where you can create your own stages, your own worlds, sort of like Mario Maker. And so a user has created a game you can make games within a game you can make games. Mind blown. He has created a sweet, pretty much copied Super Mario Maker 2, and you can play Super Mario Maker 2 on your PlayStation 4 right now, bro. I ain't playing. The pony's like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Now, the first thing that came to my mind was, Nintendo's letting this slide? I was like, no way. Nintendo's about to shut this. Nintendo ninjas don't be playing around, bro. And so my first thought was like, Nintendo's about to shut this down. Nintendo can't come against the individual user. They could come at Sony, because Sony is the host server and they're allowing this up. Like in Mario Maker, you could delete, Nintendo has the control, has the option to delete stages that they deem inappropriate, whatever. At first I was like, Nintendo's going to come at Sony about this. But then it was discovered this dude has had the first Mario Maker on here for a minute, and Sony has never taken down the stage. And so I'm surprised that they're letting this fly, and it's playable. You could actually play the stages. Now, a Game Explain was saying that the physics are a little off. As you can see, that thing's running real slow. But you can play Super Mario Maker on your PlayStation 4 through LittleBigPlanet 3, which I thought was pretty dope and surprising, shocking at the same time. All right, speaking of Sony, interesting news about how Sony is looking at the PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch. Wall Street Journal is reporting that Sony next generation will not be looking at Nintendo as a competitor, as a major competitor next generation. Now, initially, you could be like, okay, that makes sense. The Switch is a completely different kind of device. It's a mobile device. Even though by now, I would have swore Sony was going to copy Nintendo by now. But I guess they learned with the PlayStation Vita, Nintendo 3DS, Nintendo owns the handheld market. But I can see how they say, oh, it's a handheld, it's lower tech. But not so fast, Sony. Bro, Crash Team Racing, you can buy it on your PlayStation. But guess what? You can also buy it on your Nintendo Switch. You're like, okay, that's a more cartoony game. More third-party games. The first Doom, Doom Eternal, coming to Switch, even Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, bro. And so more and more third-party games are coming to the Switch. What does that mean? You can choose whether or not you want to get it on the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, or the Nintendo Switch. Meaning, as much as Sony is saying they're not looking at Nintendo as a competitor, they are competing with Nintendo. And the same thing, Nintendo has said, we're not competing with Microsoft or Sony too. I told Nintendo the same thing. Whether or not y'all know it, y'all are competing for the same games and some of the same market share. Now, I said this before. If Nintendo, in my opinion, already owns it in the first party genre. Their first party games better than Sony and Microsoft combined. But bro, if Nintendo starts getting first party and third party games, you're right, Sony, y'all not gonna be competing. Because Nintendo's gonna be crushing everybody. There will be no competition if Nintendo gets both. So I found that interesting that Sony says that they more so see Microsoft as their major competitor for next generation and not Nintendo. Don't count Nintendo out. You can't. They have already over 30 million Switches. And with the rumored Switch Mini, Switch Pro, meaning Nintendo still wants to get a piece of that third-party pie. So don't count them out yet. All right, speaking of Mortal Kombat. Oh my goodness. Oh, things popped off at a Mortal Kombat Championship tournament. Bro. Oh my goodness. I was shocked. I was appalled. I guess two dudes called Buffalo and Scar. They're like real good Mortal Kombat players. This was at an official Mortal Kombat event. And this dude won. You can tell who won. The white dude won. He got hyped. Bro. At first, I was like, come on, Scar. Just push him off you, bro. Just like back up, bro. You're too close. Just give him a nice, good shove. But then I thought, these dudes better be 16 and 17, bro. See, I'm in my 30s. And I don't see myself fighting over video games. And so he did the respectable thing, man. Let him talk his talk. I'd have probably pushed him off. You can't come up in my face like that. I'd have pushed him off. But he just looks lame right now, bro. You a grown man. Getting in somebody's face. I get the tournaments get intense and you get hyped. Come on, bro. You look a little lame right now, bro. It's a video game, bro. Hey, I'll die laughing the first time I saw. Look at him! Oh! He got intense. I guess he beat him in 2 sets straight, so it wasn't even close. And so I was surprised too. The event host wasn't even stepping in, bro. If that was the wrong dude, he would have got swung on, man. So, hey. That was funny. I got my laugh for the day. All right, next news item. Back to Sony and Nintendo. Sony is coming under some heat right now for censoring a lot of their games. And Nintendo was asked at their 79th shareholders meeting if they intend to follow Sony's route with game censorship. And this is Nintendo's response, and I respect it. Nintendo, as do third parties and their software, applies for an objective rating from third-party organizations prior to release. If platform holding companies choose arbitrarily, the diversity and fairness in game software would be significantly inhibited. We provide parental controls that can be used to apply limits. Nintendo pretty much said, we're not touching the game developers. We're allowing the game developers to create whatever they want. And we're leaving it to the parents, parental controls, to monitor who gets to play what. Which, I've always said that, bro. I'm not going to have my kids playing Mortal Kombat. My little kids. My teenage son could probably play it. I'm not going to have my 5-year-old. Because they get too graphic, bro. They don't know the difference between real and reality. My little 3-year-old be running around with a fork in his hand trying to stab somebody's eyeball out. And so, you got to be a parent and just monitor what your kids play. And so I respect, and it's so crazy. Y'all remember back, some of y'all do, back in the Sega Genesis days, the Mortal Kombat on the Genesis had blood, and Nintendo was like, no, gray sweat, that's all we're giving y'all. They learned their lesson. Ever since Mortal Kombat, Nintendo has changed their tune as far as censorship is concerned. Mortal Kombat 2 on the Super Nintendo was just as bloody, bro. Nintendo's like, okay, all right, we'll just leave it to somebody else to do it. And so I can respect Nintendo. They're leaving censorship up to parents, which is where it should be. And speaking of last two news items real quick, speaking of Super Mario Maker 2, right now, Super Mario Maker 2 in the UK has the best launch week of any Nintendo game in 2019 so far, and it's currently sitting at #1 in the charts, topping Crash Team Racing. And last but not least, speaking of Crash Team Racing, there is going to be a major update coming to Crash Team Racing on July 3rd, right before the 4th of July. Yes. Bro, I'm really liking this game. But I can't play with all of my friends on the Switch. Some friends can play and some can't when we try to connect in lobbies. Hopefully one of the things they do in this update is fix the connection issues on the Switch. But other than that, I have no complaints. The game is lit on the Switch, bro. All right, dudes, what do you guys think about everything we talked about in this video? Sound off in the comment section below. I want to know. But before you go, bro, click that subscribe button. Stay up to date on things Nintendo. My little pony, my little pony, da 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 da.